In a recent video, I visited the haunted village of Prestbury, and whilst I was in the area there was something else that I needed to do. Little did I know that it would take me on 2 more unrelated journeys of mysteries and finding ghosts. When I was little, a relative of mine told me that when they were a teen, they used to hang out in a village hall watching a newly formed young band practice. One of the band members was kind enough to chat to them. The band became the Rolling Stones, and the young man that spoke to my relative was the founder of that band, the legend Brian Jones. Little did I know when I started this video that I would stumble upon the grave and the old house with the blue plaque of Brian Jones. I then got to say thank you for taking the time to talk to a youngster hanging out watching them practice all those years ago, and of course thanked him for his music. In 1962, Brian Jones founded and named a band, the Rolling Stones. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were the first to join in with Brian, and together they quickly rocketed to stardom. Brian's part in the band was short-lived, but he remains as one of rock and roll's legends to this day. And here we are, turning into... It's exciting. It's actually quite a nice road, isn't it? Jones used to live, and there's the plaque. Brian was born in Gloucestershire in 1942 and was named Lewis Brian Hopkin Jones. He was talented, handsome, owned his own style, and he was well spoken. He was initially known for playing slide guitar, however Brian was a jack of all trades musician who could pick up on a variety of instruments and play them all well. Notably, he played the sitar on Paint It Black, which certainly added a magical essence to that track. Brian also had a love for blues music. Despite his successes, life was a roller coaster and often turbulent, possibly stemming from all aspects of his life, such as his upbringing, home life, betrayals by other band members and love interests, his drinking and other misuses. Brian met a tragic end in July 1969 when he was found dead floating in his own swimming pool during a party. Although officially it was recorded as drowning, then later changed to death by misadventure, the incident has been surrounded by controversy, inconsistencies, mystery, cover-ups and possible confessions of what really happened that fatal night. The Cheltenham Crematorium and Cemetery is a fascinating place, with so much history placed in its earth. Upon entering the drive, you can feel the energy change instantly. Oh, that's a grand building. From a bustling town nearby to a tranquil, mysterious, and in places, eerie. This place is massive. We came here to visit Brian's grave, and we will get back to his story in a moment. But little did we know that we would be drawn to another part of the cemetery that resulted in capturing yet more evidence of soldiers, and this time from World War I. This is huge. This cemetery is huge. It's crow of the day. Crow of the day. This place is huge. Oh, there it is. We paid our respects to Brian and thanked him for his music and the effect he had on my relative. A few weeks prior to his death in June of 1969, Brian was pushed out of the Rolling Stones. Although he may have been made to say that he had left of his own accord just to save face or embarrassment. According to some that were around him after leaving the Rolling Stones, he wasn't bitter about it though, and he was looking forward to performing with other musicians, working on genres that he enjoyed more. He was also much better in himself, using less bad stuff, and was certainly looking forward towards a new exciting future. Brian lived at Cochford Farm, Hartfield in Sussex, from November 1968 until his tragic death the following year in July 1969. This was a place where the famous writer of Winnie the Pooh, A.A. Milne, used to also live. Milne had previously purchased the farm in 1925 and lived there till he died in 1956. A.A. Milne had suffered a stroke and had surgery, and would not have been very mobile at the end. He may have died downstairs, not too far from the swimming pool where Brian also died. The house isn't far from the famous Pooh Sticks Bridge, somewhere that I've personally been many times, And yes, I have played Pooh Sticks there quite a few times over the decades. With the link to Winnie the Pooh, Brian had the nickname Christopher Robin. And rather hauntingly, in the Winnie the Pooh book here, there's a chapter that says, in which Christopher Robin gives a poo party and we say goodbye. And he couldn't swim, but he rescued him. He managed to float. Cotchford Farm has been reported to have paranormal goings-on that could well be attributed to A.A. Milne or Brian Jones's spirit, saying that the house is from the 16th century, so it would have seen its fair share of people in its time. It's also possible that due to at least 2 famous legends living there, it's not surprising that people will be willing for something to happen, or at least feel the magic of their talent around them. There is a rumour that Keith Richards once saw the ghost of Brian Jones in front of him in the studio when recording the Rolling Stones' new album. It happened to be a song that Brian had last played with him before he died. However, other accounts say that Keith said it was more of a strong feeling of a presence rather than the apparition, and other members may have felt it too. The mysteries surrounding Brian's death have been debated and argued about for decades. In 1993, there was a possible deathbed confession by Frank Thorogood to Tom Keelock, and Frank was Brian's live-in builder, which Brian was unhappy with and had argued about money earlier that fatal day. This confession was later denied by Tom Keelock. Other accusations have been pointing to Keelock himself, who had the ability to do the deed. Sussex police have reinvestigated the death in 1984, 1994 and 2009. In 2019, Brian's daughter Barbara Marion said to Sky News that she does think that her dad was killed and that the case should be opened once more. There are multiple versions of what happened in the run-up to, during the party and after Brian was found dead. Inconsistencies such as who and how many people were there, what they witnessed, possible cover-ups by management and police, to an example that the coroner may have been bribed. Many books have been written on the subject, 2 of them by Brian's at-the-time girlfriend Anna, and there's another one by Terry Rawlings that I think may have been made into a Netflix documentary. I have not read every book, nor every programme or every bit of evidence, there's just far too much. And after all, I only happened to stumble upon all of this. This is still an unsolved mystery in that there are so many versions of it, and I doubt we will ever know what really happened for sure.
Where were they?
Whilst we were visiting Brian's grave, we had some other ghostly experiences that I really can't explain, and they should be in a separate video. However, as they are based in the same location, I will leave them in this video for you.
This place is huge. Can you imagine if everybody today had one of these headstones? Would there be any of England left? That's a grand tree, that.
Look at that one. We came across a little building that said Battlefield Crosses. Intrigued, we went inside. I wasn't expecting to see original wooden and metal crosses from World War I soldiers.
So are these from the graves of World War I soldiers?
Yes.
Where were they?
These old wooden crosses were temporary grave markers of the fallen and were later returned from France to England. I didn't expect to hear yet another soldier's voice. I will come to that one in a moment. I also took an EMF reader in with me, but I always urge caution with these devices as it's too easy to get interference from phones, cameras and other electrical wires and gadgets.
Herbert William Cork.
To be honest though, in other areas today it has been going off like a disco. However, once inside this little building, the EMF meter did not even flicker. Upon reviewing the camera footage, a slight voice can be heard, and it appears to be repeating part of the name that I just read out.
John Harold Ellison Rickaby MC.
John Harold Ellison Rickaby MC. The voice appears to be saying the end of the name Captain John Harold Ellison Rickaby MC of the 2nd and 5th Battalion Gloucestershire Regiment. Apologies if I'm not saying that correctly. This man fell in 1918 in France. In editing, something really weird happened. When I'm trying to edit and enhance this vocal so that you can hear it, otherwise you just wouldn't hear anything at all, I tried to slow it down and change the bass or the treble just so that you can hear it a bit better. This is the exact same clip, but this time I'm hearing a conversation saying, "You're the next one, that's who I am," or something along those lines. So this is the exact same clip, but it's just like a different layer on top. You may or may not be able to hear any of these EVP voices. If you're listening without headphones, especially in a louder place, you probably won't. For example, the second layer of EVP conversation that I've just played to you can be heard through my Sennheiser headphones, not sponsored, but not through my other good quality ones. You also need to consider differences in hearing between humans. Do you remember the Yanni and Laurel debate? I recall getting quite annoyed that I can hear what others couldn't, and vice versa. This is why this video is taking so long to edit. And Private William Reagan. The crosses used to be outside, but to preserve them, they are now in their own little building for people to pay their respects. Lieutenant Cyril William Winterbotham. Oh, I just walked through a spider's web. When I said the names out loud, did John repeat his? Or did we hear someone else? Was there more than one soldier getting prepared for me to call their name? At the time, there was no one else around apart from the two of us visiting the building. It was very quiet and peaceful until an aeroplane flew over. I haven't picked out all the EVPs here, as there are quite a few, and they are so faint that you probably wouldn't hear them. Private Ernest Smith, Lieutenant Rex Reginald Anthony Leon, Major John Gwyn Griffiths, Charles Wallace Boyce, Henry Rudolph Arundel. Oh, this one's metal.
They can have whatever they could find.
Private Harold Edgar Ralph, Major Lionel Goodeve, Sidney Leonard Dean, Kenneth Gurney, Arthur Thomas Heron, Charles William Harwood, Leslie James Sylvester, Francis Charles Irwin Clark, and Arthur George Maslin. And I apologise for not saying private, lieutenant, lance corporal, private, second lieutenant, private, major, private. Keep putting my hand in spider's webs. Please shut the bottom half of the door before leaving to keep the deer out. Oh, you cute.
Hello.
Hey. Squirrels.
some of these old stones. Amazing. This place is huge. I think you could be here for days.